Good afternoon, my friends. It's a beautiful afternoon in that the rain has subsided and it's gentle out there. The weather has gotten very gentle. It's a very interesting day because today is the day when the Intergovernmental Climate Change Committee has finally reported on what is happening worldwide. And it's now, they say, beyond any doubt that what has been happening with the climate, with the weather, is man-made. Human-made, man-made. And it's something which I have been not just talking about and writing about and broadcasting about. It's something that I have been adapting to on a very, very serious level over the 17 years of the Bealtaine Project. And the Bealtaine Project was started by me as a creative way, as a way of creating something in a time of destruction. If you've read my book, A Cottage and 3 Acres, you will know that it started with the invasion of Iraq in 2003, my decision not to be part of any of that, and I left the UK, which is part of NATO, in 2004 and came back to Ireland. And I wanted to create something, I wanted to build something because it hurt me to the core. It hurt me to the very core of my being that there was such destruction going to be meted out on a part of Mother Earth. Carpet bombing. Stuff like that, anyway. But one of the statements, that stayed with me, which I thought, this is going to come around. This is going to come around, and not in a very nice way. One of the kind of buccaneer leaders at the time said, it could have been Tony Blair or, I don't know, George Bush or one of the other NATO leaders, because they were all involved, said, we'll bomb them back to the Stone Age. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the Stone Age, eh? I watched the inhabitants of Evia, a beautiful island off the coast of Greece. I watched them into a forced evacuation at the weekends, where the ferries, I think the government actually mandated all the ferries towards the island to get the people off. And one of the most poignant things that I saw was, as the people were leaving on the ferry, someone did a pan shot from on board the boat, but in front of the people. So you could see in the darkness all these heads and shoulders of people. And they were all looking back towards their island. And you could see the outline of the boat, just as the person who shot this from, I suppose, the back of the boat. And the pan shot showed Dante's Inferno. Dante's Inferno. And this morning I was walking Jack and walking along the road, and got to a part of the road where it began to kind of fall away down a slope, and there was a break in the ditch and all this water was pouring out. It was basically where the ditch hadn't been maintained. Wasn't on my land, but it hadn't been maintained. A tree had grown through it and the water was being blocked and therefore just gushing out onto the road. And I thought, the road is already starting to erode away. And then I thought of all the floods in Belgium and Greece, Belgium and Germany. And I thought of what was happening out in the USA, fires and floods, and what was happening all over the world really. And I thought, you know, how far removed are we from the Stone Age now? Things are out of control. People will not change their ways. People will be forced to change their ways, which is a different kettle of fish completely. But you see, I remember back in the 70s, late 70s, I think it was 1979 or 1980, I went on a protest march. I remember my son was a baby and he was born in February 79. And I had him in a little baby sling because I was breastfeeding him. And I went on this protest march, and my siblings, and I have 8 brothers and sisters, they're all living. I was mocked. I was mocked and laughed at by all of them because the protest march was to save the whale. The biggest mammal on Earth, in the seas, in the ocean, was under threat. Is still under threat, actually. I remember Spike Milligan speaking at the end of the march in Trafalgar Square, and I remember a lovely group called Spyro Gyra playing music. And when I got back from the march and I called in to see my parents, and some of my siblings were there because they'd all moved to London at this point, oh, I was mocked incessantly. Now the interesting thing is, that was in 1979. We're now in 2021. I have continued my resistance to the destruction of Mother Earth consistently down through the decades. And of course in 2004 I decided to start the Be Alternate project because in a time of destruction, create something, and I had to create a living, working model as an antidote to what was happening out there, to what was happening across the world, to the incessant wars, invasions, mining, continual greed. I want bigger, I want better. Continuing flying off to exotic zones for holidays. You know, so on and so forth. You know the picture. Anyway, so I started the Be Alternate project. So looking at from 1979, and I began my journey before 79, by the way. I was born in 1955, and I still have poetry that I wrote at the age of 14 about this stuff. So my whole life has been devoted to trying to help Mother Earth. It really has. And I don't hold myself up as any, particular person for doing that. I think everybody's heart surely has got to be with Mother Earth and doing the right thing. But 2021, what's that? That's over 40 years. I now have nieces and nephews from those brothers and sisters, and the majority of them laugh at me. They think I'm really weird. They wouldn't come and visit because I don't have a luxurious house. My compost toilet is sneered at. The way that I live as a vegan is absolutely trashed in terms of what they have to say about that. Buying clothes in second-hand shops or charity shops is scorned. I mean, we're talking about a lot of people here. We're talking about over 40 nieces and nephews. I'm not even invited to their weddings. Can you imagine that? I've got nieces and nephews who live in Northern Ireland who won't even invite me to their weddings because I'm regarded as such an untouchable. So I don't need to have an international intergovernmental group talk to me about climate change. It's been happening. I call it extreme weather because some people get very argumentative about climate change, even still. So I call it extreme weather. You cannot go out like King Canute and say, this isn't happening. Oh yes, it is. Go out there and get drenched or try to escape the forest fires. And still to this day, even reading through the comments here on my YouTube channel, comments like, oh, so, the fires were started deliberately. What's that got to do with it? If parts of the earth have become so combustible that you throw down a match or you try to start a fire deliberately and over 1 million acres goes up in smoke, what does that matter? So yes, this is a rant. This is a rant. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm feeling very upset that I'm still regarded as too odd a person to even socialise with. So I continue in my little life here, doing what I can. I think Bealtaine Cottage is an arc. It really is an arc. Oh, and I know that there's a whole group now about, the arc or something it's called. But I mean, I was talking about the arc in terms of livability for all life long before any group started referring to that. But nothing will be done until it's forced upon the people. And it won't be forced upon the people all the time that there are corporations who are the real power, who are making good money and bad money, dirty money, but who are profiteering from all of this and putting so many advertisements out that make us feel good, that help us to forget. Because we're not very good at remembering. Blessings to you all. Links to the purchase of my books can be found below this video and every other video I put out. I want to say a very special thanks to all my patrons Thank you for supporting the Be Alternate project, and blessings to you all.